This is Thomas Bryant, a center for the Miami Heat, and for context, he's 6'10", aka taller than 99% of people currently living on the planet. And yet here he is being treated like a child because he is going up against this guy, 7'4" rookie Victor Wembanyama. We've been anticipating Victor's arrival into the NBA for well over a year now, but now that he's actually here, I think a lot of people are actually starting to realize that this doesn't make any sense. It just doesn't. Never before have we seen an NBA player that can move like this at his size. And even though he's only played a handful of preseason games, we're already getting an idea of just how many issues he is about to cause for a lot of teams. Because the simple fact is that a lot of teams in the NBA have no idea what to do with him. And that's just because a lot of teams in the NBA also don't have the tools to deal with this. And again, the fact that he's already doing stuff like this and he hasn't even played a real NBA game yet, that might be the scariest part. And it just shows how much potential he actually has, simply due to the fact that nobody this size should be moving like this. They have no business doing all of this. When you think about some of the tallest players in the league from past years, you're thinking about players like a Sean Bradley or a Yao Ming, or even Porzingis to an extent. He's 7'3", only an inch shorter than him. A lot of the guys around that height are mainly big, clunky bigs that are sitting in the paint. Even guys like Porzingis, who are more mobile than some of the really tall bigs of the past, he's not even really doing stuff like this. He's more so used as a rim protector, a roll man, and a spot up 3-point shooter. Kristaps Porzingis is not being the ball handler on a pick and roll with handles like Kevin Durant. He is not doing one-handed up and under layups like this that you probably might see from someone like Kyrie Irving. It's almost to the point where we're having legitimate conversations about what NBA player is actually gonna be able to consistently slow him down. Because off the top of my head, I don't really have a lot of answers to that question, other than maybe a player like Evan Mobley, or maybe Bam Adebayo, maybe Draymond Green, although I don't think that he has the size to deal with this, because once again, you have to consider the fact that he's taller than everybody on the court. Take the Miami game that we just saw a clip from, for example. The tallest player that he is going up against is Thomas Bryant, who is 6'10". That is a 6-inch size difference. So picture a player that he's probably going to get a lot of comparisons to, Kevin Durant. This will be the equivalent to Kevin Durant going up against someone like Zach LaVine or Devin Booker, except these dudes right here play the same position. But the thing about this is not really, because while he is, yes, listed as a center, he's not going to be playing like a traditional center as you might expect from, someone who is a center. He's going to be playing more like a wing. But I don't even think this is the scariest part about all of this. We've known about his offensive ability for a long time. We've all seen the highlights. We've seen all the stupid stuff that he's been doing overseas, the moving threes, the one-legged threes, the step backs, and the ball handling. That's going to be something that is going to cause a lot of problems for a lot of teams, probably 90% of the teams in the NBA. But I feel like the thing that we really kind of overlooked, well, not overlooked, but didn't really pay as much attention to, was his ability on defense. Because although, yes, you could probably see it coming that he was going to be a capable defender given that he could move like that, I don't think that anybody anticipated that he would be this effective this early on. And it's mainly due to just the defensive pieces that have been surrounding him so far in preseason games. They're running Jeremy Sohan at point guard. 6'8" Jeremy Sohan, who played a lot of minutes at the 4 last season, is now a point guard, at least in some of their preseason lineups. And this has been just leading to a lot of confusion from the teams that they faced in preseason, because they have been running a lot of zone, because why wouldn't they? But that creates so many issues for basically every team in the league. Now, it is worth noting that the Spurs did play a couple teams that aren't really the best offensively right now, mainly the Rockets, but they did play a couple other teams that are going to be really good offensive teams this season, mainly Miami, OKC, and Golden State. And the Golden State game, which was the last game of preseason, was probably the most telling game of them all, because it was very clear throughout the first half that they had no idea what to do on this defense. There were so so many plays where any action that they were trying to run was just completely blown up by the fact that he was just standing on the court. And it's mainly due to what I mentioned earlier, the help defense that he's able to play, and also just the amount of ground that he's able to cover. This play, for example, where they're running a screen and roll with Kevon Looney and Stephen Curry, in any other situation, a big is going to be guarding the Kevon Looney role. Zach Collins is fully committed to Steph here, and also Jeremy Sohan, but anybody in Victor's position would probably be more focused on the Kevon Looney role and just trying to stop that. But Zach Collins actually does a really good job of recovering here. Steph gets the pass to Wiggins, who is now wide open, but just the amount of ground that he's able to cover is just so stupid that he's actually able to get a hand on this shot. Now, Andrew Wiggins was probably the most confused out of everybody. He was just trying to take him off the dribble the entire night, and it just was not working out. Then you also have this play where they're running a pick and roll with Klay Thompson and Kevon Looney, and Keldon Johnson does not do a good job of navigating over the screen. So Klay should have an open shot, although he did use a head fake pretty effectively here. Usually this is an open shot for Klay Thompson, but the 8-foot wingspan of Victor Wembanyama, yes, by the 8-foot wingspan, yes. The 8-foot wingspan of Victor Wembanyama is able to actually get a hand on this shot that pretty much nobody else in the league can do.
Porzingis roaming. We put oh my gosh. Oh, it's getting freaky.
What?
No way.
And like I talked about earlier, Andrew Wiggins just kept trying to take him off the dribbles, trying to see kind of what he could get away with, and the answer was absolutely nothing. He tried to cross over a couple times, and he did a sort of a step back where you kind of, body into them and then step back and put like a floater up or something. We see him do this a lot, but it's just, he takes everything away. And then the same thing on this Wiggins shot where he basically tries the same thing where he bodies into him and then fades away. And we see him do that all the time. But Victor is able to just get to this. But I do think that the most fun was in the Miami game, because there were a couple plays where it was just like, I don't know what teams are going to be able to do just because this is so out of the ordinary that they have no idea how to play this. On this play, Thomas Bryant saves the ball, and so this turns into a 4-on-5 situation. Victor is not even in the paint. Jamal Cain is standing on the other side of the paint. Usually, you're not even thinking like this is a wide open pass or a wide open shot. Someone like Jaren Jackson is probably going to get there in time, but the fact that Victor is just one step and he can just be there also kind of takes that away. That's not really the insane part. The insane part is that Thomas Bryant gets back into the play, and then Victor just turns around, block shot. This shouldn't have been a foul, but it was somehow. And then you have this play where they're sort of running a screener roll with Thomas Bryant and Drew Smith. And the problem is that you have Jeremy Sohan as the dropper on the pick and roll. And so they kind of clog that up. Victor is still sitting in the paint though, just trying to, figure out kind of what's going on and kind of where to go. That leaves Haywood Highsmith with what should be an open shot, an open floater. Against 99% of the league, this is a good shot. Like, it doesn't make any sense. Like, there's no blueprint for this, at least not yet. The amount of shots that he is going to be able to block this season just from people not really being familiar or people not being used to something like this is going to be insane. Like, my prediction is that we're probably going to be having conversations about him being the best defender in the league in his rookie season. That does not happen. But the thing to also keep in mind is that there are other teams in the league that can space him out a little bit more than what we've seen from him so far in preseason. Like it's going to be interesting to see how the Spurs use him against a player like Karl Anthony Towns or Kristaps Porzingis. That should be a very fun matchup to see when it eventually happens. But a lot of teams are just going to have no idea. Like, it's just going to be a learning curve for a lot of the teams in the league. And Eric Spoelstra pretty much said this, and he had a pretty interesting quote when asked about Victor. He said, "We've seen the footage, we've read about him, we've heard what everybody said about him, but until you actually see it live in person, there's no real way to describe it." And I think that sums it up pretty well. because from what we could see so far in preseason, there's really no weakness to his game, at least that we could see so far. If I had to name a couple, I would say his main weaknesses at this point would be three-point shooting. He still is not the best three-point shooter. He shot about 30% in preseason, which is about what he shot overseas. So that's not really a surprise there, but I expect that to possibly improve as his career goes on. But another weakness that you saw, especially in the Golden State game, is that he gets tired. I wouldn't say quickly, but more quickly than you might like, especially at the speed that the NBA moves at nowadays. We saw him go to the bench during a timeout after a Golden State run, and he was gasping for air. Now, he did obviously come back into the game and, you know, he played amazing, but that is going to be something to possibly keep in mind, especially as he's playing more minutes, say, in a playoff situation, because that is now in the cards for the San Antonio Spurs team. But I'd imagine that with the training that teams have nowadays, his conditioning is going to improve, and so we will see. That is the most terrifying we will see that I can think of at this point in time, because keep in mind, he has not played a single regular season game yet, and he already looks like this. Can you imagine what he could look like in year 3 or year 4? And the answer is that no. You can't, because that is just, I don't think that any human can actually conceptualize that at this point in time. But like I said, we will see. We will see. But with all that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Subscribe if you're new, hit the bell to be notified when I upload, comment down below what you want to see next, and as always, I'll see you guys in the next one.
And they did. They would have for sure beat us. Probably made the conference finals.
What is his plan? Like, what is he planning to do?
What is his plan?